Welcome, everybody. We hope to keep this light a little bit, but I see there's a party here tonight that might not keep it too light. But it's our last meeting here together as a group, and for some of us, we're looking forward to getting through this meeting and giving a few thank yous. So for those that do stick it out, hopefully it'll be a little bit rewarding. And again, it's just some thank yous towards people like my wife, and I think some of the other partners are showing up, I hope, whenever they get out of their trucks. Okay, 6. Oh, my overtime. Okay, anyways, thanks again. So I wish to call to order the regular meeting of council, and council would like to acknowledge the Uculate thought on whose traditional territories the district of Uculate operates. Notice a video recording. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? Okay, looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Here we go. Where's my agenda, sir? I'm all backwards here. And we have looking for adoption of the September 6, 2022 special council minutes.
I'll move adoption.
Second.
Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And looking for adoption of September 20th regular council minutes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any errors or omissions? Councillor McEwen?
There's a really cute typo on page 14 near the bottom. Council also noted the need for pre-established routes, ROOTS, for truck traffic in Uculate.
Brought me back to elementary school, because that's probably the way I would have spelled it. Got my point across. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any unfinished business? Okay. And moving on to bylaws. We have one tonight. This report is being presented by the Chief Administrative Officer. After the Chief Administrative Officer presents, there will be an opportunity for public input on this permissive tax exemption bylaw. It's all yours, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before council is the adoption option for the permissive tax exemption bylaw.
Oh, sorry, you know what? I skipped right over public input, so I just had to do a process here. I need to... there's an opportunity here. I'm just trying to get my binder in order here. I'm going to blame it on the binder. Okay, public input, if you don't mind. We don't want to jump over that important item tonight. So this is an opportunity for members of the public to provide input. Speakers will have 2 minutes to present unless council votes unanimously to extend the speaker's time. Please note the public input section of this agenda is not a question and answer period, and council is under no obligation to enter into debate of any issue. That said, we are more than happy to receive your comments. If you're attending by Zoom, please use raise your hand icon and speak, and if you're attending by telephone, hit *9. Remember to state your name, address, and the topic. Are there any members of the public or members of the audience who wish to speak? Yeah.
Patricia Sieber, 1058 Helen Road. And I understand, I was going to speak to the email that I sent you, but I understand that you did receive it and you have perused it. So basically I'll cut to the chase. And before that I do that, though, I want to say thank you to the council, because even though only possibly 2 of you will be there after this damn time, I do appreciate all the work you have done, and so I do thank you. Even though I don't always agree with you, I do thank you for the work you have done. So that said, I will continue on. So I'm here tonight to talk about the Village Green, as you probably guessed. As I understand, the modification of the downtown core was intended to meet several goals. The first one, I think, that probably we're most interested in is to make the area more pedestrian friendly. Reports to council in the early months of this year seem to define this goal as making it more vehicle-free. A careful examination of all the projected phases of this plan would in fact make this area vehicle-free. Except for the proposed playground that is slated to be part of Phase 2, no other parts of the future concept have been discussed or clearly defined. So today, I will only discuss the Phase 1 that you have for you tonight. Reducing parking spaces close to sites that people want to visit will increase pedestrian traffic. If you were here in the downtown core much this summer, you would have witnessed, as I did, the behavior of many groups of people, mostly tourists, I think, using the streets of Main, Fraser Lane, and Helen Road as if these areas were pedestrian walkways. Once, while I was stopped at the stop sign on Peninsula and Main, I saw a group of 4 men on foot exit the co-op parking lot, cross Peninsula in the middle of the street, ignoring both crosswalks, and proceed down the middle of the main street, ignoring both sidewalks. So I've seen numerous pedestrians behaving this way, and I'm wondering if more crosswalks and more sidewalks are going to change this behavior. So while I was often tempted to ask, where did you park? Why are you walking this way? But I didn't. But I wondered, were they parking in the co-op parking lot? Were they parking at Deficit Plaza? Were they on Peninsula Road? Could they not park downtown? Who knows? But anyway, they were exhibiting careless behavior. Now I wonder if we turn the whole downtown core into a pedestrian mall to make sure that people can walk wherever they want, will it be any safer? But do we really want this for the businesses that have established in the area? Do we want such a concept? Luckily, during the 11 years that I have lived here, I've never known of a pedestrian being injured because of their careless behavior. So I presume that it's not that dangerous down there. Adding a sidewalk on Fraser Lane would be an improvement. However, the proposed sidewalk makes that wished-for sidewalk...
So you're over your time limit, and I knew you would be. I just want to just follow the rules of 2 minutes. I've given you well over 3.
Okay.
Again, you'll have an opportunity at the end to talk about your item that's it's important to you. So again, you'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting for some more in public input regarding that agenda item.
Just one more question. One of the things I have pointed out in my email is I would like, for the first time throughout all this process, if someone would point to their diagrams and say exactly how many parking places are going to disappear. I've never heard that.
Okay, thank you for the closing remark. Jen, welcome.
Now, I'm going to start by saying I think I'm going to go over 2 minutes. Do I have permission to go to maybe?
Well,
4
again,
minutes? I thought the limit was 5. I apologize.
Yeah, it's
so
a 2 minute.
I'll make it as brief as I
Yep.
can. Thank you. My name is Jan Dresky. I'm the owner of the historic building and operator of the Crow's Nest at 205 Main Street in Uculate. I am here to request that no construction contract be awarded today for this changed and revised Village Green proposal. This current drawing is focused on the Crow's Nest and the aquarium and a sidewalk on Fraser Lane, and the rest of downtown is off the plan. In the past, there was a request from this council to the planner to leave the Crow's Nest off the design altogether. The planner came back stating that he could not support this request. In other words, he stated that he was not going to do what this council had requested. No one on the council questioned that, and the planner carried on. This new version is now focused on the Crow's Nest parking and the parking in front of the Village Green only. So we have moved from don't include the Crow's Nest to only include the Crow's Nest. In a later meeting, everyone on council voted to remove all the parking in front of the Crow's Nest due to safety concerns. Rochelle reported to us that her grandmother had an incident in front of the old post office. That was one incident. Is it truly unsafe, or is it just easy to say so? There is no evidence that it is unsafe. Here are the facts. A conservative estimate of 30 cars per day pull in and back out in front of my store. That translates to over 11,000 cars per year pull in and back out successfully without incident. I don't believe safety is an issue in front of my store, and the facts bear this out. One incident with Rochelle's grandmother and more than 11,000 successful parkings per year do not to mention 34 years that I know of and many, many more before that, would not deem this unsafe. I don't believe safety is an issue in front of my store any more than it is an issue on all the rest of Main Street on the same side. No one is calling that unsafe. So the decision to remove my parking due to safety is not based on facts. Here are some more facts. If I lose all the parking in front of the Crow's Nest as proposed, it will be the end of the Crow's Nest. From September to July, September to June, not July and August. I'm trying to talk really quickly. Parking is in front is essential for locals, seniors, mums with kids, and disabled, and also tourists, especially on rainy, windy days. Without that convenience, people will not or cannot walk in the nasty weather to access the store. There are only so many lost sales, windy, rainy days that the Crow's Nest can absorb before it is impossible to carry on. That is a conservative 11,000 customers per year, and that cannot access the store safely with walkers or children or general disabilities. That is 11,000 plus customers per year that will not be making purchases at the Crow's Nest. These are conservative numbers. These are the facts of customer access to my store and the dollars and cents of my business. Why does the planner have power over my financial future? The Crow's Nest is 50 years old this year. All of this, and the building is 120 years old. All of this is in jeopardy. The historic building is 120 years old. What will become of the historic treasure if no one has access? What about the historic downtown, the ambience to the town? People have voted and that they do not want to see this destroyed. The respondents to the Village Green survey overwhelmingly stated that they were concerned with the removal of parking downtown, and particularly in front of the Crow's Nest. When the planner presented the results to council, he premised it with a statement saying that there was a lot of misinformation out there. I and others challenged that statement because we all know it was referring to the survey map and the numbers I added to it, his survey map, indicating the parking places that would be removed. I've asked repeatedly for someone to show me if I could be wrong, but no one has. Let's stick to the facts. 401 people responded to the survey. 278, that's 70%, said they were concerned about the reduction of parking for local access to daily needs, especially in front of the Crow's Nest. These are the facts. This is the official data, and yet it is being ignored. The property owner on Main Street wanted to remove his parking. This council told him he could not remove downtown parking, and yet I must have all my parking removed. The rules apply to one property do not apply to another. Businesses are always required to provide parking, but I am denied any of my existing parking that has historically always been there. And if we want to talk safety, let's talk about the new proposed crosswalk from Crow's Nest over Main Street to the Village Green. On the current plan, is being proposed that it be moved to the very bottom of Main Street, right next to where the semis have to honk their horn, run the stop sign, and roar through the intersection. So they'll be roaring through the intersection right beside the people walking in the crosswalk. Families using the crosswalk, or seniors, or anyone will suddenly hear the blast from the trucks as they roar through the intersection right beside them. This cannot be safe. In fact, I think this is dangerous. This plan is seriously flawed and dangerous. It is not what locals want, it is not what businesses want, and it is not what my business can survive. There are many people in this room and on Skype who are here because of the parking issue. Please raise your hand if you're here because of parking. Thank you. And we know that the planner will say, we will lose our funding, but there's always more funding, and funding is not a reason to go ahead with a bad plan. A bad plan is a bad plan. All but one of you are leaving your positions as mayor and councillor. So why is this body making a decision on a plan so fraught with problems and so different and changed when you're not going to be here to bear the responsibilities for this decision? You are elected officials and are supposed to be here for the citizens and the businesses. Please represent this 50-year-old business in this 120-year-old historic building, and all the citizens who took the time to fill in the survey and to attend this and many other meetings. Please represent me. Please represent us. Please let's stick to the facts. Do not award a construction contract on this change proposal at this time. Don't let this be your legacy. You guys have done a lot of hard work, and we do appreciate it. As I say, even though we don't always agree, it doesn't matter. The work still gets done. Please represent me, and please represent the rest of us who have spoken up on this subject. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jan. Are there any other attendees attending that will speak? Public input. I'm looking over towards Zoom. Any participants, please raise your hand. And a reminder, if you're phoning in, hit *9.
No hands raised at this point.
Okay, and just double checking if there been ever received any emails to community input.
Not at this point.
Okay. Okay, where was I? Do I need another? We'll do a quick introduction to this bylaw. This report is being presented by the Chief Administrative Officer. After the CAO presents, there will be an opportunity for the public to comment on the permissive tax exemption bylaw. Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the bylaw before council has been presented earlier this in September. This is the requirement for authorizing permissive tax exemptions, which waive property taxes to specified properties for a period not to exceed 10 years. The schedule attached to the report gives an overview of the tax exemptions that are recommended and are in line with previous tax exemption bylaws that are done each year. So we're looking for council's consideration of adoption of the bylaw.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lawrence? And again, just an opportunity for the public, if there's anybody from the audience who'd like to speak on this permissive tax bylaw. Okay. Again, I'm going to go over to Zoom. Any participants on Zoom, please use the raise your hand icon. And those on telephone, hit *9. No hands raised on Zoom. And can you just double check your email at communityinput@uculate.ca. Okay. So moving along, we have a recommendation. Okay.
I'll move that council adopt District of Uculate Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw number 1318, 2022.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Moving on, we have 2 reports today. The first report is the Uculate Economic Development Corporation Annual Reports. This report is provided by the Manager of Corporate Services, Mr. Rotenberg. And I love your shirt. You're looking good today.
Thank you. And through the mayor, by way of background, the Uculate Economic Development Corporation was founded in the year 2000. And it was founded to explore economic development options for Uculate. The corporation is owned by the District of Uculate. The corporation is currently inactive. The financial position statements of earnings for the year ending in December 31st, 2020 and December 31st, 2021 are attached as Appendixes J and F. As you can see, very little has happened there. The corporation is not in good standing under the Business Corporation Act because the 2021 and 2022 annual reports for the corporation are outstanding. Staff are recommending that the annual reports be filed to bring this corporation to good standing. Staff are also recommending that the annual shareholders resolution and directors resolutions for the 2021 and 2022 be adopted. Also, to complicate things further, the registered and records office for this corporation is the Myron Platt Law Corporation, also known as Raincoast Law. We're advised that Raincoast Law will be shutting its doors very soon. And as a result, we're recommending that the Registered and Records office be moved to the district office until we can find a different solicitor for this corporation. Historically, each council member that sits on council also sits on that corporation's board of directors. We're recommending that for now that practice continue for the time being. This would allow the annual reports to be filed and the Registered and Records office to be moved. This matter will be brought forward once the new council takes office. At which point in time the new council can consider whom they would like the officers to be for this corporation as well as the board of directors. At this time, that new council can also consider the future of this inactive corporation. It'll be a discussion point. Really, nothing has happened with this corporation for quite some time, and it's just sitting on our books, and we're just filing annual reports for now. So it's something for the next council to consider for sure.
Any questions for Mr. Rotenberg? Yeah, I know that that corporation, there's a long history to that, and it was always the hope that, perhaps the Barker Community Forest we're going to need it for that. That's pre-us, so this is always the thought that perhaps that there was going to be something that was going to be used for that corporation. So, yeah. So we do have 6 recommendations. We can move them individually.
I will move that council approve the Uculate Economic Development Corporation Directors Resolution with the effective date of September 14th, 2022 and attached as Appendix B.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I move that council approve the Uculate Economic Development Corporation shareholders resolution with the effective date June 29th, 2021, attached to this report as Appendix D.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Move that council approve the 2 Uculate Economic Development Corporation directors' resolutions with the effective date June 29th, 2021, attached to this report as Appendix E.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And I move that the Uculate Economic Development Corporation directors' shareholders resolution with the effective date June 29th, 2022, attached to this report as Appendix H.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Move that council approve the 2 Uculate Economic Development Corporation directors' resolutions with the effective date June 29th, 2022, attached to this report as Appendix I.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I move that council directs staff to take the necessary steps to file the Uculate Economic Development Corporation Notice of Change of Address 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Annual Report with BC Registries and Online Services attached to this report as Appendix A, C, and G, respectively.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Mr. Rosenberg, thank you for doing this little housekeeping item. It was an important matter, so thank you. The next report is development permit for a resort condo development at 1003 Peninsula Road. This report is being presented by the Director of Community Planning. And there will be an opportunity for the applicant to present after the Director of Community Planning presents. Mr. Gregg?
Thank you, and through the chair, just bear with me. We're just working on Zoom here to see if I can share my screen. Oh, I think, Joey, it's telling me that...
One more step.
Okay.
Stand by.
Let me know if that works.
That's looking like it's going to work. Share. From beginning. Okay. So this first application is a development permit for 3 duplex resort condo units on the property at 1003 Peninsula Road. And the bit of aerial photo here sort of locates it. It's down on Peninsula Road near Terrace Beach and really going down and backing onto Spring Cove. The proposal, in a nutshell, is for a rather modest resort development that's been quite sensitively sited to minimize disturbance of this piece of property, the land here. And this is on the screen is sort of the street-facing view, which is sort of a single-story, fairly modern. But they're duplex cabins, essentially, and there's 3 of them. The 3 cabin buildings are located on what was a previously disturbed portion of the site. It's really the fill pile that was left over from the realignment of Peninsula Road, which took place in, I believe, 1999. They have located the development really for the buildings and the parking to be on what was the pile of fill, which is overgrown with alders. The next slide here just shows the rear face of the building. The proposal is to take a bit of advantage of the slope so that the lower level is sort of opens up to, I think it's bedrooms on the lower level that sort of open up to the site at the rear. I would note on, like, here's the site plan, which is in your application or in the agenda. The property is, as I said, you got Peninsula Road on the west side. It would have a single entrance that would come into the site where there's parking spaces, and then these 3 duplex cabin units. So six resort condominium units total. And the site, you see, it's a bit faint, but many will be familiar with the Wild Pacific Trail does traverse the site down. I'll sort of trace it here with the red dot around the site and down along Spring Cove, and this is where it goes out towards the bird blind deck features, and that traverses the site through a statutory right-of-way which the district holds, which is on the title of the property. So this is both a form and character development permit and also an environmental development permit. And I would note that the the qualified environmental professional, the biologist, whose report is attached, concludes that the proposal would have minimal impact on the environmental values with this proposal to develop on the previously impacted part of the site. It utilizes that disturbed area, previously disturbed area, and retains all of the mature forest. And also the landscape plan incorporates some appropriate native replanting species. And just noting that the sight lines is on the inside of the corner where the driveway access to the site would be located. It's located as far away from the sharpest part of the corner as possible, and that there is some pruning that would be necessary along to keep some safe sight lines in there. And so there's replanting that is being proposed to use native species, but to keep it low so that visibility is safe to access the site. And those conditions of the qualified environmental professional, the QEP, the biologist, are incorporated in the draft development permit. As you can see, I believe it's on page 114 of the agenda. And I'll see if there are any questions. I can attempt to answer them, and the applicants are here as well this evening.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Does council have any questions?
Not right now, probably will for the applicant.
Councilor McEwen? Or?
Wow, changed my name.
Oh.
Couple questions. So I was walking the site today just because that's the nature of my beast. And I was looking at and you can tell from the contour lines on some of our diagrams, the really steep slope on that fill pile. And some of my concern with the design is that it looks like those kind of cottages are almost cantilevered over the edge of that fill pile. And how do you build on the steep slope of a fill pile without dropping a whole bunch of that down onto the basically it's bogland down at the bottom and affecting the water course?
Through the mayor, and I'll let the applicants speak to some of their approach to the construction of this. I believe one of the recommendations is that the edges of what had been the disturbed area versus the undisturbed area be marked prior to when machinery gets going on site. But really, it is a challenge. I'm not an engineer or an architect, but doing foundation design on essentially what is fill, there can be some challenges. But as part of the building permit process, the applicants would have to have their geotechnical engineer confirm what sort of pinning to solid ground to be adequately stable for that construction needs to take place. But as the biologist had identified, there is an area of what had been previously disturbed versus what is mature forest, and their conclusion was that what's being proposed is within that disturbed area and not going to be encroaching into that mature forest. But perhaps the applicants can speak to how their approach to construction on this site as well.
Just start off with your name and address, if you don't mind.
George Venley, and I guess the address would be the 1003 Peninsula Road. So the earthworks, as stated by Mr. Grieg, we've kind of run that past the geotech, and it'd be kind of a traditional foundation. We'd dig down and build up. There'd be no real cantilevering or anything, and the debris would be brought back up and not pushed down into the. kind of a main part of the application is to keep all that mature forest the way it is, because that's the appeal of the site, and that's kind of the beauty of the lot. So we've really tried to work around that, and we're going to be bringing some of that old fill out, really. So, does that answer your question?
Pretty much. It's just one of those things that any time you have a steep slope like that, the possibility of erosion down is really, really high, especially in, a rainforest. And the more you disturb it, the more likely that erosion is. And of course, then anything below that gets smothered by, fill is bad. So, the fact that you're aware of it and the potential for issues, that's great. And I hope your geotechs are on it. I have another question for you though.
Yeah, sure.
I noticed that there is a staircase access down to the trail, and it's one of the, can I ask for a why? I did speak to Mr. Gregg this morning, and why it can't be like why your people can't use the public access, which is, maybe 55 baby steps away sort of thing.
Yeah, down further up Peninsula Road.
Yeah.
And potentially it could. We were going to get in contact as well with the Wild Pacific Trail Society as well, and seeing if it's possible. If it's not, and if it's a disturbance, we can, we don't have to do that. But it's such a beautiful trail network that we, want the guests to be able to access it as easily as possible. Yeah.
I totally understand. When I looked at the site, I'm like, that is where there is actually a water course. And again, anytime you're building and the potential for silting. So my concern lies in making sure that is built so that if it is built, then it's built with the absolute minimum disturbance. Because I get that it's not a crazy mature bog there yet, but it's getting there. Looked a little dry today, but then everything looks dry these days with our weather. So, but yeah, it's just a concern of mine.
While he's up there, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, no. Thanks for coming here. It helps these applications when the applicant's actually in the room. So thanks for answering those questions.
I will just make one. I'm going to make one more comment. But I do know that because I have looked at I had a conversation earlier. There are a couple of culturally modified trees, but they are out of the area that you are clearing. That's part of the reason why I walked it today, because I wanted to be sure where the sight lines were. Because the problem with culturally modified trees and any large old trees is the width of that root system is always bigger than you think it is. And any disturbance to that disturbs those. So I kind of want to make sure that that's on everybody's radar.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure. You might got a comment on that? Just your name and address.
Dave
again.
Bradbury, 103-235 Sterling Arm Crescent in Port Alberni. So we did have Kerry Cunningworth come out, and I met him and he walked the site and did a study to make sure that any sensitive areas we weren't wouldn't be affected. His report's attached to it, so yeah, that was our concern as well. There was a CMT on the side of the site that we won't disturb it. Yeah.
And I appreciate you. You know firsthand what she's talking about. So Thank you. Any other questions? There is a recommendation, and I'm supportive of the applicant and seeing these in all the reports that are necessary. So if someone would like to move this, Councillor McEwen.
Thank you. Through the mayor, I would like to just comment that this was a really thorough report, and that always helps us a lot when we're making these decisions. So thank you for that, and the environmental conditions on Schedule 2, totally in favor of all of that. So thank you for that. I will move that council, with regard to the proposed resort condo development at 1003 Peninsula Road, Lot 6, Section 21, Clayoquot District Plan VIP 67274, PID 024167533, approve the issuance of Development Permit 22-05 for 3 duplex resort condo developments and associated landscape and hardscape works.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to add a small amendment to it. And that amendment is that any trail building, so that would be your staircase, for instance, in environmentally sensitive areas be overseen by a QEP, qualified environmental professional, just to be sure.
So I would suggest that the recommendation is before us. I would like to move that, which it is, and then if we wish to agree to pass it, and then your little amendment here, your change, I think there would be a second recommendation. Joy, does that work? So just so we can all vote on that, you're very specific on what you're saying. So
So you have options here. I think you have a mover to amend. You need a seconder now on that motion. And then you can vote on whether you'd like to amend the main motion with this
Why is
Second
today
motion,
being
right?
like this? I thought we were going to have an easy day. Honestly, I have no idea why they're here, we're here. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on here. So,
Alternatively,
this is not the way I
the
thought it was.
motion could be withdrawn, and then you could make the motion as a standalone motion.
yeah, I'd rather make it standalone. Then it's very specific. They won't. So there's no seconder. We'll let it die. So I'll just call the first one here to question, if you don't mind. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and then I would then you can make your second recommendation.
Then I will move that any trail building that occurs on the resort condo development at 1003 Peninsula Road, Lot 6, Section 21, Clayoquot District Plan VIP 67274, PID 024167533. Any building that occurs in environmentally sensitive areas be overseen by a qualified environmental professional.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Whew, jeez. Jennifer. Man, I'm getting sweating up here. This is not that's supposed to be just party time here. Okay. Third report. The next report is development permit for food truck cluster at 1708 Peninsula Road. This report is being presented by the planning assistant. Welcome. And again, there will be an opportunity for the applicants for the development permit and business license to present after the planning assistant presents this report. Thanks.
So this development permit application is to allow 3 mobile vending food truck spaces to be operated on the Army, Navy, and Air Force property at 1708 Peninsula. You can see it there in the satellite image. And the property is located in the OCP Village Square Development Permit area. And additionally, all mobile vending licenses need direct approval from council under the Uculate Business Regulation and Licensing Bylaw. Next slide, please. So the applicant, the ANAF, has an existing development permit originally from 2018, which allows 1 mobile vendor on their site. And they are now proposing to relocate the existing food trailer on the lot and add 2 additional food trailers. And you can see that in the site plan there, kind of in the top left. In addition, they're seeking to expand the seating area, add additional planter boxes and landscaping, define a parking area and fire lane, and add a publicly accessible portable toilet and hand washing station. Servicing for all 3 units will be provided by the ANAF, and generators are not permitted. In addition, a permit condition is that the ANAF will ensure any mobile vending operators on their property adhere to the mobile food premises guidelines, which includes a requirement for grease traps and waste disposal. Parking will be reduced on site to accommodate the new use, but the site plan shows an area for parking which could fit up to 13 standard spots, which is more than the 10 required for the ANAF by zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So this DP application represents a somewhat new use for the District of Uculate. Mobile food truck businesses have typically occurred as a single application by the operator themselves, but this DP application seeks council approval to allow 3 food trucks to operate on 1 property, creating what could be kind of referred to as a small food truck cluster. And if the DP is approved, multiple mobile vendors could hold business licenses, allowing them to operate on the ANF property, but only 3 would be able to operate at any time in those given spaces. And this will allow mobile vending applicants to have a more streamlined process for application here, and means the development permit holder, so the ANAF, would be responsible for the landscaping and forming character elements on the site. Given the nature of the increased use and the ANAF property's location in sort of the heart of downtown, the permit does have the condition that the applicant replace the portable toilets with more permanent bathroom facilities and comprehensive landscaping within 5 years of the permit issuance. And this provides an opportunity to review the development permit in a few years and make collaborative changes. So next slide, please. Food trailer uses can be a really valuable way to add additional food options to the Uculate core, and the existing one on site has proved really popular. And this is a fairly suitable location for a small cluster like this. So the applicant has indicated that having a food truck cluster would generate dependable and more diversified revenue for them to support their long-term priority actions, including upgrading the property frontage and cenotaph location there along Peninsula Road in the photo. And the applicant and staff have sort of begun discussions around coordinating plans for upgrading the public boulevard on Peninsula Road as the ANAF develops its plans around that. Next slide. So the second motion before you is the approval of a business license application for Big Wave Cafe, which is a food trailer offering espresso bar services and breakfast sandwiches. And they're currently operational at the Junction, but the operator is hoping to relocate to the ANAF site if this DP is approved. So approval of this business license would mean there were 3 mobile vending licenses approved for operation on this site: the existing West Coast Salty Buns, the original Cheesus truck, and then the Big Wave Cafe. So at this time, council can just provide an opportunity for those applicants to speak if they wish to, or I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great job, thank you. Are there any questions from council at this point? And would the applicant like to make a couple comments? Do we have any questions for the applicants? Is this straightforward for everybody?
I just have a comment.
Okay,
have a
make
comment.
your comment. Turn yourself.
To be honest, when I first saw this report come across the desk, I was a little concerned. But when I read the report, and it was a great report, thank you. I was concerned at first about generator use, but I was happy to see that there will be no generators used. I was also happy to see that there's a plan for more permanent washrooms. I know no one in the community likes to see porta potties in the town unless it's on a construction site. So I was really happy to see this report come forward, and I would support it.
Councillor McEwen?
I'm very supportive of this report as well. Anything to get the Army-Navy back up on its feet and get that cenotaph kind of buffed up and polished would be awesome. And yeah, I think the beautification aspect of this is also great, and the public washroom as well. So very supportive.
Come on, you gotta say something.
I know, I totally have to say something.
do it.
Yay to public washrooms,
Yeah,
for
hallelujah.
sure. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to be able to get a coffee when I get out of karaoke, unfortunately.
You
But
never
you
know.
know,
Never say never.
that's a little late/early, even for you, Chris. But yeah, very supportive. I love the looking forward towards a long-term plan, and I know it's helped the Army and Navy having that the trucks that have been there previous, just to have that little bit of coin flow is not a bad thing, because you can't run karaoke every night.
We're all saying the same thing. We're just happy to see the applicant, and we're happy to see you decide to move into town. We obviously having a couple more, places that are open, obviously benefits everybody. So, so good work on this one. So there are 2 recommendations. If someone would like to move them.
I will move that council authorize the Director of Community Planning to execute and issue Development Permit 22-08 to allow a total of 3 mobile vending spaces to be operated at 1708 Peninsula Road, Lot 1, Plan VIP 5190, Clayoquot District.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried?
Distracted. I will move that council approve the issuance of a mobile vending business license for the Big Wave Cafe food trailer at 1708 Peninsula Road.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. We look forward to seeing it happen, you guys. Good luck.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And you don't need to stick around here. If your items come up on the agenda, you want to leave, you can leave. Broadway, and go enjoy your birthday, okay?
Yeah.
Don't hang out with us. You guys too at 103 Peninsula, go. We won't think less.
Have a good dinner.
Enjoy your evening. Thanks again, you guys. Okay. Man, everybody's so polite. They never want to leave in the middle of a meeting. Jeez. You can't leave yet. The report number 4, the next agenda item is contract authorization, Village Green Construction. This report is being provided by the Director of Engineering Services. Welcome, Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. This next report is to provide Council with a couple of options concerning the Village Green Revitalization Project. Specifically, it's asking Council for consideration and perhaps authorization of a contract to approve the construction of that project as designed. Last Council heard of this project was in April. At that time, district staff advised Council that the design was nearing an end and that district staff was preparing the project for construction documents and for tender. At that time, the project was separated into two potential phases for the procurement practice in anticipation of receiving perhaps high costs when it went out to market. That project was separated into two phases, and what we were looking at there was the front of the municipal office would be phase one, and that included the extension of the park into Fraser, the extension of the playground, as well as pedestrian works and crosswalks on Main, and then crosswalk improvement work on Main and Cedar, and as well as pedestrian improvements up Fraser. Phase two was going to be pedestrian improvements and parking improvements along Helen, as well as pedestrian improvements up Fraser and Main as well. So, with design complete and potential phases ready, district staff published on BC Bids a request for general contractors to provide construction cost estimates. The district received two proposals, one which was acceptable and one which was not acceptable. The one proposal that was acceptable was reviewed for completeness and accuracy. It turned out to be 3 times the district construction budget available and the most recent construction cost estimate. So the project was at risk for completion essentially and for forward momentum. In order to move the project forward, district staff sort of tested the feasibility to see if the project could and how to explore options to move this project forward. So changes to scope, changes to time, and changes to the budget were all considered. Working with the contractor who provided a proposal and the design team, district staff completed a scope change. The scope was reduced quite significantly so phase 2 was eliminated from the scope, and then phase 1 was reduced quite significantly as well. If I may, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bruce Gregg probably could provide a bit more details if there's a slide available into what's remaining in phase 1.
So on page, I think it's page 144 of your agenda is the plan that shows sort of what is in the phase that's being recommended for the contract. This I thought might be helpful. It's one of the copies of the plans which really includes some of the early notes to the engineers and to the landscape architects on what sort of things would not be included. So I'm sorry for me wandering about, but this way I can actually control a little pointer. So the core of the first sort of phase is essentially looked at a very stripped back version because to what we can afford to get it within budget to still achieve the main improvements that were part of this design and the goals, which is in a nutshell to still expand the park for park users, improve the intersection to make it safe at the corner of Cedar and Main, and also to extend the sidewalk where now there is no sidewalk or accessible pathway into and around the park. So there would still be a pathway that would be now constructed that would bring people and give them access to the park and follow the whole perimeter of the park, and the ability to then also have that pathway extend up Fraser. The other element that is still in the plan is the expansion of the playground area so that it's expanded and connected and is part of the park rather than being on the opposite side of a drive aisle that goes into a parking lot, that space of the vehicle drive aisle is given over to the park. So the area that I'm highlighting now, which is beyond the existing trees, is sort of the expanded area, and that would be contiguous with the expanded playground. And so it would be a reduction of the parking area for the municipal hall, but this pathway would now still connect through. What's been removed is things like with all of the X's here, some of the works on Main Street have been removed. That second phase on Helen Road, we basically would be living with the picnic tables, which were placed on the old pavement that are there today. They'd still be there, but at least we'd have a pathway going from that seating area, which serves Yuki dogs and someone from Frankie's or Zoe's. That little sort of cluster of seating would be connected with a pathway that comes down parallel to Fraser Lane. But new planting that was along that pathway has been trimmed back. A new fence has been removed. The fence along the edge of the playground has been changed. The materials, it would be a split rail fence, which was half the cost of one which had cables on it and that sort of thing. So pathway and paving, some areas like the pathway through the green is removed, and the stairs and retaining walls have been removed. And some of the other paving materials have turned to asphalt as opposed to sandset precast pavers because of the cost reduction. So the main spaces and connections through the space would still all be constructed. Those other elements, such as new plant, in some cases removing existing planting beds and refreshing them with new planting beds, those could be future phases, but they wouldn't happen as part of this first phase. The intersection at Cedar and Main Street is part of the first phase because it's a critical part of expanding the park. And as our engineers have reiterated, that the parking that backs into the intersection currently really can't continue. That was also part of the conversation of the Ministry of Transportation, that making this a more regular, safer intersection is part of this plan. So that would be part of the first phase.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg, through the mayor again. So, as mentioned, with reduced scope, that scope reduction was an exercise to bring the scope to within budget, and maintaining a form and character that was desirable aesthetic for Uculate, and also could be built upon in future phases as funds become available. As well with this, the scope reduction, significant as it was, still wasn't enough to bring it to within budget. And so staff are asking for the reallocation of $150,000 from RMI to be reallocated back into this construction budget to top it up. That $150,000 was previously earmarked for a washroom facility in 2023. So that washroom facility at this point will have to be reprioritized and planned for as RMI gets topped up in the year and years ahead. As well, to help alleviate another constraint and limitation, there is a time constraint on this project from the grant funder to be completed by March 31st of 2023. Staff have requested from the grant funder an extension of the grant and to allow for more time. There's an early indication that that's going to be feasible and acceptable, and currently staff are working through the requirements with the grant funder for a request for more time. If approved, the new project schedule would potentially be from February until the end of May, and completing before the busy tourist season gets underway. With a reduced scope, increased construction budget, and adjusted schedule, the project is now achievable and potentially ready to move forward. The contractor who provided the proposal has resubmitted an estimate based on that reduced scope and has been very open working with the district. That general contractor is Hazelwood Construction Services. The estimate that they provided to complete the construction is $1,138,000. The total budget for this, including contingency and design fees, is $1,000,000 $360,000. And again, the construction schedule could potentially be February 2023 to May 2023. District staff are recommending awarding this contract to Hazelwood Construction Services. The general contractor has been very open to working with the district and being very flexible. They've indicated that they have resources available to complete this project on time. They have staff accommodations here on the West Coast and ready to go. And they provided a proposal and experience which is very well suited for this project. Lots of similar projects and great expertise there. So if approved today, the contractor would begin preparations for spring construction, which includes receiving all necessary permits, allocating resources and materials, and aiming for February. District has required a traffic management plan from the contractor to direct flow and traffic and manage any necessary road closures that are required during construction. There are a few of those, and district staff will be working with the contractor, directing them as needed. So if approved today, the next steps would be to award that contract. Begin, as I mentioned, working with the contractor, preparing for spring. And then prior to starting, there'd be a follow-up presentation to council, a report, to update on any logistics or communications necessary for the public, and just information is needed. So in front of council today are three potential options. Option A is to approve the contract between the district and Hazelwood Construction Services. Option B is to defer the contract award to the incoming council. Option C is to not proceed with the contract. There are several pros and cons to each option as indicated in your report, and with that I'll just leave it there, and I'm happy to talk through or answer any questions you may have.
Councillor Kemps?
Through the mayor to staff. So you said that the district is asking for an extension for the grant funding. What kind of extension are you looking for?
Through the mayor. So we've asked for a 1-year extension and are currently working through all of those requirements. They've asked for a update on cost and for a confirmation that the scope reduction doesn't change the original objective or deliverables of the project. So we'd be asking for what we need and quite a bit more. The schedule could be adjusted from February to May for completion in June. And so we'd be prepared for that with our time request. That said, we're still waiting for feedback on that, of course, and we'd be prepared either way to start now or start then and complete the project on time.
Thank you.
Councillor Hordesi?
Yeah, I've got a question. It was something that occurred to me looking at this, and is mainly because transit and the loss of the potential transit thing is a sore point. Tofino Bus, or whoever's running it these days, currently uses that side of Fraser Lane as a bus stop. That's the main bus stop in town. And if we shrink down Fraser Lane, where is that bus stop going to be located? Because that bus is going to continue to run. Fingers crossed. And I mean, the only is the option to take away 4 spaces. Then we get into the whole parking thing, but taking away 4 spaces in front of the aquarium to make up for that, because in a 1-lane wide spot you can't have a bus pulling over. Yeah, I'm concerned.
That's a good one.
Yeah, through the mayor. So we would be ensuring that bus service would remain during construction, and I think if there's more details, I might actually pass that on to Mr. Gregg, who is really involved with the parking and relocation of parking spaces.
Certainly, and through the mayor, the narrowing of Fraser Lane and narrowing of that crosswalk from the initial iterations of the plan and sort of through this has always anticipated that bus staging area simply shift down Cedar Road so that it's opposite the where the public parking lot is. So it would be slightly to the what would be the north, so towards basically in front of the Whiskey Landing. That there's a wide public boulevard there, and so basically relocate the bus stop slightly down the road.
Any questions for you?
Yes, the elephant in the room is parking. And I pulled these diagrams. I think they were from our April meeting. Perhaps Mr. Gregg can confirm that. It was a 5-page thing that talked about parking, and so what it says is there was a graph that said public parking in the project area prior to 2021, and it marks them all out, and there were 81 of them. And then there's another graph, public parking in the project area as of 2021, and there was 106 spots. And now, proposed public parking in the project area is 95 car spaces and 5 motorcycle spaces. Is this still part of this project, or has that information changed through the mayor to staff?
Through the mayor, the phasing of the total project has changed and shrunk, so it is slightly different. So we did prepare a slide here. So let me just bring this from current slide. Okay, and I will keep my pointer out here as well. So essentially, this is the aerial photo to show what would the change be with the construction that's in this proposed contract. Essentially, the initial phase would not include Helen Road, where some new parking spaces would be produced. So the count essentially is that here I'll hover that's the municipal hall where the cursor, the red dot is. The plans, the expansion of the park means removing 9 parking spaces on Fraser Lane in front of the park here, and there are 5 spaces in front of the Crow's Nest. So that is 14 total. 1 space gets picked up immediately with the design of the intersection, so that knocks it to 13 that would be removed of public parking spaces with this work, which does include future if we find funds or when we find funds to do more of the work and build back more parking. And I just would highlight it over, as in the April report, we were sort of doing that tally, we'd also identified that in the Cedar Road, the Cedar Hub parking visitor hub, I'm sorry, it's had various names, but in the new parking lot, that there is space there for, we calculate 8 additional parking spaces with some pretty minor works to upgrade there, and that's something that, as again, there's already a council motion that be brought forward for the 2023 budget for consideration, is to do that as part of sort of balancing this out. So that would be, if that were done, what this would see would be, yes, the removal of 13 spaces, and then the option of do we add 8 over in the parking lot. As well, I just highlight here that yes, there is staff parking, that the 8 parking stalls that are there currently would be reduced to 4, so that staff will have to park elsewhere, ride their bicycles, walk to the office, as many of us do. But those are not publicly available parking spaces, certainly during the daytime hours currently.
So the end result of that would be losing 13 but gaining 8, so a total of 5.
That would be the net balance of it. That would be the 8 is not currently authorized project that's on the go, but that council's already referred that to the budget process that's upcoming here.
Great, thank you. I just wanted clarification on that.
Welcome. How are you? Hey. Okay, no, I'll pretend you're not here. Yeah, and I know that we approved this, the whole phase before, with listening to Jan and the groups respectfully, your comments. But the simple fact is this is this whole downtown core, although it's not being all done in one final swoop, which we would all love it. I'm very supportive of the staff changes, because this is going to happen, and whether it's going to be happening today or in the May or 3 years from now, at the end of the day, this intersection is challenging. And when consultants, and I believe Councillor Cole's not here, but I'll take her words, the fact is engineers have told us there's problems with this intersection. It belongs to Highway 4, and it needs to be cleaned out. Unfortunately, all the other parts that we are hoping to be able to accompany the work that gets done at the intersection and in front of the district office, unfortunately, that's fallen off the table due to funding. But I don't think there's anybody, on whether it's staff or ourselves or looking for grants, they're going to be looking for funding in order to complete this village green to what it's initially been designed to. So I'm not surprised with the overruns, and I understand that Jan and the group are feeling that things are going to affect the downtown area with parking in general. I've always said, I got the mic. The end of the day, I've always said our parking problem lasts for 60 days in this community, and I think that we need to make sure. I've only lived here for 50 years, Jan, and the reality, I know. Regardless, it's like there has to be something done on this intersection. It's dangerous. Because that's what the focus is. It's not about the parking here. It's about what's being done at the intersection. And again, I'm just elaborating my thoughts here, which are the fact is, unfortunately, it's not being presented the way it was before to the whole deal, but I think that what's presented here after the dust settles, I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for the community, including for your business. I know you do, and you always have. So I'm supportive of the recommendation, so do we need to go on about it, or do you want to get a mover for this? Okay.
I'll move recommendation that council authorize the Director of Finance to relocate $150,000 within the 2023 Resort Development Strategy to the Village Green Revitalization Project.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And 2, that council authorize the mayor and corporate officer to execute a $1,138,000 contract between the District of Uculate and Hazelwood Construction Services Incorporated for the supply of all the materials and labor to construct the Village Green Revitalization Project.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
Sorry. That should be $1.138 million.
I'll do it again. That council authorize the mayor and corporate officer to execute a $1.138 million contract between the District of Uculate and Hazelwood Construction Services Incorporated for the supply of all materials and labor to construct the Village Green Revitalization Project.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I'm looking forward to staff working with the business community down there, ensuring, minimizing that the interruptions that are going to be done down there. So, perfect. Thank you for attending, you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Okay, if you don't mind, we'll take a little, maybe a little 15, 20-minute recess. I'll make a motion for a recess.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we'll take a little break, and Jen's here. Thank you, Jen. Hi, baby.
Thanks for coming. Jen's going to
You let me know when, Joseph. Yeah, thanks, Courtney. Take care. Did you say go? I think we're good to go. Okay. Okay, we'll resume our meeting here. We have 4 information items. Anybody want to pull any out, or are you okay with them? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, 10.4, West Coast Transit Service. I'm really disappointed that this was not a group opportunity to send this letter. Where am I? Yeah, this is from the Tofino Chamber of Commerce, and really, where's Uculate in here? It doesn't even mention us. So I'm just wondering what we can do to help push the minister, Rob Fleming, along with this BC Transit.
If you don't mind, I'll just pass it off to Mr. Lawrence. Maybe you can talk about ACRD and the lens that they're in their approach, if you could share that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's a number of options, as part of the future council's planning process, if it continues to be a priority, so we can advocate for reconsideration with the ministry. The tentative plan amongst the CAOs of the region is that we'll be looking at opportunities to work together to do an internal service, is what the minister indicated at UBCM is as an option. The CAO of the ACRD, Mr. Sandiland, had some really creative ideas and thoughts on accessing I think it's VW, has to do some work because of their fraudulent environmental emission standards. So there's some interesting ideas that we might pursue. Don't know if they're viable yet, but the idea will be is that the region as a whole will start working together to look at options for transit on an internal service, lobby the ministry to continue to uphold what they said they would do previously, as well as look at alternate funding sources from the ministry or other ministries to help support a regional transit service. So although this is a significant roadblock that's been thrown at the region here, there are avenues for us to pursue moving forward. It'll take time, and it'll be a direction as a regional approach to make it work. So
Thank you, and that's kind of, I would, as much as it would have been nice to be inclusive, I'm not surprised. It's kind of the normal thing. But the next breath, I think, with Daniel at the helm with the CAO and ACRD and the group meeting, I think there's going to be hopefully in the spring. Who's ever successful with the 2 of you, 3 of you will be able to have some options to bring forward to the community. So I know they're working on it, so it'll be good. Any other items?
Item 10.2, the Youth Parliament. Do we know for sure that the secondary school got this? Would they have received this, or should we forward it along to USS?
Okay, Mr. Roenberg, if you forward that to USS, please.
I just want to make sure they're aware of it and
They normally do
encourage.
receive
Yeah,
it.
I thought they probably did, but making sure.
Okay, is that it? Oof, look at that. Look, the book is getting empty. Okay, hey, mayor's announcements and council committee reports. So I just wanted to, thanks for you guys coming straight from work. I just wanted to say some thank yous to all of you. And it's been a really wonderful time for us. Been with Marilyn for 8 years, and the 2 of you for 4. And yeah, many more. And for you that's already in it, my hat off to the fact that you're doing this again, and I have utmost respect that you're taking on another term, and knowing that what you got ahead of yourselves and the commitment you're going to do. So it's wonderful to know that you're still going to be probably in your same chair for another 4 years, and yeah, there you go. You're going to be the old, the veteran of the group, so which is great, which is nice. I mean, you've turned into just a sunshine here in the last couple of years. You're just kind of getting into yourself at the table, and it would be a shame to see you not be here. So, great work. anyways, I have a couple little parting gifts for you guys. A little bit cheesy, Mako cheesy, but
I like cheese. You're allergic to it. Well, but yeah. True.
so.
Thanksgiving flowers.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, goodness.
Well, they're for your husbands, but it's fine. But we'll start with cheesy first. I like cheesy. Flowers are obvious. Anyways, you can't hear me, but it doesn't matter. No, I don't need a traveling mic. I'll sit back down. Anyways, so a little history of this. So this is Lilia. Is Lilia used to have a gallery at one time. I can't believe I said her name out loud, huh?
Yeah.
Did you want to come up here, Melina? So anyways, Lily used to have a gallery where Pluvio was for, you had it for 3 or 4 years there? 4 years? You don't like talking. And anyway, so I've been with you for almost 12 years, and Lily has these little spoons that we're all going to recognize. So I just got these little spoons for each of you, just to kind of, think about Yuki, because I love that Yuki logo. I'm hoping none of you have this in your cabinet. You don't have this in your cabinet? Okay. No, I thought I should have had it engraved. She told me that yesterday. She goes, why don't you get them engraved? So she may need have to get them engraved, but it's just a big thank you. And one more thing. So flowers for the husbands, of course, So we'll start with, come here, Kim.
You better get up. You better get up.
He's never joking.
Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for putting up with me.
I'm not here.
Lance is not here, so.
He's at Pilates class. Oh. That's awesome.
So
I didn't get a kiss.
Yeah.
it's still early, Kim.
We have the whole
That's
night.
right,
We have
he
the
says.
whole night.
No, I had a couple. I just want to make a couple little points here. I think what gets forgotten about is the fact that we leave these things in these meetings, and you hear about it. You both hear about it. So I think that's what always gets forgotten about is our spouses, right?
And the time.
Yeah. So,
For sure.
so I know the commitment. So when I see you guys are all taking this stuff on, I'll try not tearing
So
up.
you're
But
gonna cry?
it's the fact is it takes a lot of time, and it's in your mind all the time, and you hear about when you're laying in bed about what happened and how you feel. So anyways, a big thank you for you guys for supporting your partners. Anyways, where am I? You got your cheesy spoon. I told you the Lily history behind it, so cherish it. I encourage you to put it in your silverware drawer and start using it for sugar or whatever you're going to use it for. And flowers. And I've done this once. I've ended a term once, and I know the importance of, even like your name plaques, please take them with you. Joey is going to hate it, but take it, and not the whole thing, because he gets scared.
Yeah, he
If
gets
you
scared.
take this, he'll get a little bit weird.
Side thing.
His municipal budget's going to be blown out because these things cost $18 or something. And but hey, so take those name tags, and I'd like you guys all to just initial your on the back of mine before I leave tonight. And lastly, just the staff, right? Dwayne and Greg, Bruce and Whitney and Mr. McIntosh. I know I got half of it right. Monica. Last name Whitney, and no, thank you guys for for your commitment to the community. It's a small town, and you saw it tonight. Everybody has an opinion about some of the things that we try to do, and it's just I think that we're the staff and the council. I think that they're in parallel. There's always going to be a few hiccups along the way, and we're just happy to see you guys call this place home. So thank you. All right. There we go. What else do I have? That's it. I said thank you 5 times, and I don't think. Do you guys have any? Do you want to say something, Marilyn? Your committee reports here, starting with you, if you want to say a few things.
I have no reports, but I would like to encourage everyone to get out and vote on October 15th, if you haven't already, yesterday. And it's been my pleasure serving for 8 years as a councillor, and as most of you know, I'm going for the mayor's spot, the big chair. Get out and vote. And thank you for having me.
Thanks for your commitment, Marilyn. It's been great. Councillor Kemps for
I
the
know,
last
I'm
time.
like, I don't want to cry.
I teared up. You're good. We're amongst friends.
Taking the seat, you don't know what's going to happen. It's been quite a ride. I've made some great friends sitting up here and wonderful staff to work with. It's been a wonderful 4 years. You hear about all the stories all over the island about the tumultuous team that's sitting up here and things that are going on in different municipalities, and we are been so fortunate to sit at this table and get along this way we do, and we may agree to disagree, but we walk away still friends at the very end of it, and it was a great experience. I'm really going to miss it. You never know what's going to happen in another 4 years, but especially, a few of us have lived in this community for a very, very long time, and it was a great experience. I've learned a lot. I want to thank everyone and staff. Staff have been great. Thank you. One other little thing, it's the marathon on the 16th. So over 630 racers. There's a couple of them sitting right here, right now. We had our volunteer barbecue last night, which was great. So if anyone still wants to volunteer, please sign up on the website. But there's going to be a lot of people coming into our community on the weekend. So it's great. But happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Hoare.
Well, I actually have a little something because I was at the Wild Pacific Trail Society meeting last night, and they have their AGM on October 23rd at 3 p.m. So that's a Sunday. It's here. There's snacks. So do come out and come and check it out. Nothing else really from their meeting. But yeah, it's been a fun 4 years, and I'm with Councillor Kemps on that whole, it's amazing when you hear the stories about infighting and people not getting along, and we can battle back and forth up here, but then we walk out the door and we go and have a glass of wine together or whatever. And that is, things happen. Yeah, it's very fortunate. We respect each other, and that's been great right from the get-go. So just challenging you boys. We better respect each other. Looking forward to the next one.
It'll be good.
But yeah, full on. I've carved my name in the seat. So, and thank you. Sorry, staff, you're stuck with me for another 4 years.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I know I speak for Rochelle. She's not here. Her sense of regrets. We all know that she's traveling to Victoria doing her Cops for Cancer, and I know that she would love to have a few moments at the microphone again and say a lot of the same things we were saying. And I said I really don't have anything else to say for reports. I think everything's been once I made the decision I wasn't this wasn't going to continue on. Things got a little bit easier. But hey, we're all going to live in the same community, and we look forward to what you guys are going to be able to do at the council here, working with the team here. And it'll be challenging, but it also will be very rewarding. So, yeah, only the 5 of you will know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So.
Don't lie. You're going to watch all the meetings on YouTube.
I'll watch
right?
a couple of them. Oh yeah, for sure. Not maybe live. Maybe at my leisure, but. If I ever get that hot tub in for my wife, maybe I'm able to watch it from there. Okay, question period. Any questions from anybody in the audience? What went on today on the agenda? And lastly, moving over to any questions via Zoom or telephone?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Those that are still there. And have we received any questions via emails to communityinput@uculate.ca?
Oh, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And I move that the meeting be closed to the public in order to address agenda items under Section 91C of the Community Charter.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, then. We'll go into that for like 15 minutes, and then we'll be free. Thanks, you guys.
15 minutes.
Yeah, do you,
Where are we gonna,
yeah, you guys want to go
where are we gonna go? Next one. Yeah, that's